Welcome back to Sports Dump, Lewis County's only sports podcast. We're sponsored by Elam's Home Furnishings and Mattress Gallery, Goebel Septic, and Americool Heating and Cooling. I'm Aaron Vantile, joined by some of the Chronicle sports crew. Dylan Wilhelm is here. Kody Kristen is here. Zach Martin, absent. He is he is out on leave. He will return in a few weeks, and then he will.
All full of excuses.
He has a good excuse. So fall sports are officially in the rearview mirror as football state championships have come and gone. After a great season, we are left with the two same outcomes at the University of Washington that we had last year. No ferry ride required.
Just all road. It was awesome.
That's great. I love that for you, Dylan. Do you want to discuss what occurred at UW on Saturday?
Absolutely.
Go ahead. Lay it on me. I wasn't there. I have no idea. I'm hearing this for the first time.
11 a.m. Napavine, Okanagan.
Same as last year.
Third straight matchup. This year was not a close game. You know, how many times have these two teams met in the state playoffs, specifically the state championship?
No, it's more than that.
Well, even going back the last, 15 years between Judd and Fay, they've all been close. This one was 8-7 Okanagan with about 10 seconds left in the first half. Okanagan was at about the 40, give or take. Okanagan took a timeout. Napavine then took two straight timeouts and then proceeded to still give up a Hail Mary on a fourth down on the final play of the half.
Ouch.
And Okanagan just never looked back. Carter Kukenboo.
Is that how you pronounce it?
I believe so.
Or are you just pronouncing it like that Arizona State running back?
Scataboo. There was a radio guy to my left, and I couldn't tell who he was with, but that's how he was pronouncing it the whole game.
Okay.
The radio guys are never wrong.
And then
I
kind of
Bobtail's never missed it on the name.
I saw Josh
besmirch the name of Bob Dow.
Josh was there as
legendary coach Bobtail.
Bob's great.
Josh was there as a fan, and I went and met him at halftime of the second game, and I mentioned his name, and I stuttered, and he's like, second year in a row, he's still figuring out how to pronounce that guy's name, and I was like, 100%. So I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name, as I'm sure you're listening to this.
He's definitely listening.
Yeah.
Carter.
He had 7 total touchdowns. He should have had an 8th, except for some reason some D lineman held the QB on a pick 6.
Okay. So he had the pick 6?
He had the pick 6.
Jesus Christ.
And one of his linemen, he totally would have beat Grady Wilson to the pylon, but his lineman just held for some reason. Not that would have made much of a difference. So, yeah, Napavine goes down, first drive touchdown, looks impressive. Both defenses, are going at it early. And then that big play before half turns into a 2-score game at halftime, and after that, Kukenboo just took over. He's going to Boise State to play tight end, and that tracks. He was just running. I mean, he's a guy that size, and to be
like 6'6", 240, something like that.
Just let him run over people. Yeah. That's what they did. The Huffstetler kid didn't even have that great of a game. He barely had 30 yards, if I remember correctly. He was kind of a thorn in Napavine's side last year, but this year it was just all Kukenboo.
All right, and then following Napavine's loss, Tumwater took the field in its rematch against Anacortes. The T-Birds had a much better showing this time around, but still couldn't do enough in a 20-10 loss. Tumwater was up 10-7 in the third, but Anacortes scored twice after that. So what kept the T-Birds from getting over the hump, Dylan?
It was two main things. One was a problem last year, and the other one was not a problem last year.
Was the thing that was a problem last year, giving up big plays?
Yes, 100%. There weren't as many as last year. Obviously, Anacortes didn't put up 60. But
just the little slip-ups that there were very costly.
Their first touchdown, neither team scored in the first quarter, and it wasn't until about 4 minutes into the second when Anacortes, beautiful play fake. I want to say Ryan Lang started in the slot, and he just kind of went on this wheel route to the pylon. Blown coverage, wide open touchdown to open the scoring. Tumwater gets 10 straight points, including a short field goal from Dylan Stevens late in the third. 2 plays later, Brock Beener, 50-plus yard touchdown run, gives him the lead right back. I believe Tumwater punted the next drive, and then the first play of the next Anacortes drive, 61-yard bomb, gets Anacortes right back inside the 10, and they get a touchdown 3 plays later.
That's about all she wrote.
that's really all they needed. And the other thing that kind of kept Tumwater from getting over the hump, that wasn't an issue last year, they just stalled in the red zone, especially late. They go down 20-10. They get the drive that they need. They get inside the red zone, and it gets to 4. I don't even remember what it was, but it was 4th and maybe 5, 6, 4th and medium. And, there's a thought, 4 minutes left. You could kick the field goal, get within a score, try to get a stop, and, get the ball back. You're down a touchdown. They don't get the 4th down play. They do end up getting a stop and getting right back into the red zone. And at that point, there's 2 minutes left. You might as well just go for the touchdown. I asked Willie Garrow about that after, and he was just saying, you need 2 scores either way. You might as well go for the touchdown there while you have the chance. And said they liked what they drew up on both occasions, but the Anacortes defense just did its thing, and that was pretty much it.
All right, so going into these games, there was a strong sentiment, at least either way. Anyway, that both Napline and Tumwater could win these, and maybe they were favored, especially around here, I think.
Yep.
But is it a case of everybody just kind of overthinking things, and when in reality these were kind of rematches of last year's games that both the teams that won last year won, and like looking at it, in the rearview mirror, I don't want to say hindsight's 20/20, but it's kind of tough not to have that creeping feeling of, oh yeah, like of course this happened.
I think more so that feelings with the Okanagan side, with how much talent they brought back, and with how much just the difference between last year's Napavine team and this year's, how many seniors they lost. Obviously, Ashton Demarest to QB, and that's, Wilson played fine enough. Obviously, it's tough to keep up with a team that drops 50. There wasn't that much of a drop off, but I would say that one's the less surprising one in hindsight, especially when you just look at everything. Okanagan just ran through everybody.
Yeah, that was kind of like, I didn't see Napavine, I didn't see Okanagan this year, but I watched the game last year, and it was close, and there was a lot of Napavine they had a very good season. They lost to some very strong opponents. They didn't lose any games that I don't think anybody was like, oh wow, I can't believe that happened.
I think
they lost to Montesano and Life Christian, which were both 1A state teams, and they lost to Okanagan, who is very good, obviously.
30 in a row now or something like that?
But yeah, the thing I keep coming back to is like, Napavine is, I'm not going to say they're in like a rebuilding year, but they are replacing a lot of pieces from last year's championship run team, and Okanagan was not. They basically had all the same guys back in this Kookaboo kid who was just
tight end,
who's just somehow even larger now. So yeah, great season by Napavine. I don't think there's no shame in losing to Okanagan. They're very good.
Not at all. The more surprising one that I think Tumwater was getting a lot of, well-deserved hype running through the regular season, running through the playoffs. I think there was more of a feeling that Tumwater would get the better of Anacortes this time around, especially the way they played defensively. And they still had a great game holding them to 20, but at the end of the day, 10 points isn't going to win you many playoff games. Yeah, unless you're Adna, who won 8-3.
Yeah, forget about that. So, do you guys want to discuss the final grid picks board of the year? So, going in last week on this very podcast, Kody made his picks, and I took a bold approach and said, I will just take the opposite. I will take the field, basically. The only
you could have beat me if you.
I know. You know what? If I would have stuck with my gut and taken Okanagan,
you would be first.
I would be in first place. But as it was, we both picked Napavine. We also both picked Royal, which won its 5th straight state championship.
I think 8 of 9. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But Wilbur Creston Keller upset Liberty Christian in the 1Bs. O'Day upset Bellevue in the 3As. Anacortes knocked off Tumwater. That wasn't an upset. Why was that? That was an upset, technically. Anacortes was the 2,
technically,
weren't they?
They were the 2 seed.
And then in the final game, this all happens, and Kody still has a 1-game lead over me on the season through everything else. And then Sumner and Camus come down to a final kick. Sumner knocks in a field goal.
Incredible game.
Knocked away my grid pick championship.
Before that, too?
I believe so.
Yeah.
We saw one of them. Kid's got a leg. It had the distance. It was all accuracy, but
made the one that counts.
Yeah.
So now me and Aaron need to decide on a tiebreaker.
So if anybody has any good tiebreaker suggestions, Kody and I can gamble on something, or I don't know, fist fight, pissing contest.
I like the fist fight. I said in our group chat 100-yard dash, and then Aaron said 10-mile dash. I was like, shit.
If you have a suggestion for how to break this tie, DM Kody on the Instagram, Chronicle Sports Instagram.
Yeah, sure.
All right, sure. That'll settle things. Don't get a hold of me. I don't want to hear it. But yeah, great pick season, guys. Kody and I, co-champions in the regular season, co-champions in the playoffs.
We'll just have to
just great minds.
We have to do weekly grid picks all basketball season to break our tie.
God, I don't have that. No, that sounds painful. Nobody wants to see that.
You don't know ball like me. You're scared.
We come to February 1st. Cody and Aaron are tied at 417 and 131
yeah,
apiece.
We'd still be fucking tied.
Sounds awful. All right. This podcast is brought to you by Goebel Septic. Goebel Septic is, I just had a little blurb that popped up with him. Your trusted septic specialist in Washington, providing septic services and sanitation for Thurston, Lewis, Mason, Cowlitz, Grays Harbor counties, septic pumping inspection and riser installation, commercial septic pumping, grease trap services, and obviously they'll rent you a porta potty and a sink to wash your hands afterwards. Visit goebelseptic.com. That's GOEBEL septic.com or call 360-736-2167. So now we are officially into the winter sports season, which means a whole lot of basketball. We'll start with the WFS girls, who are 5-0. They've already played 5 games.
Yeah.
Well, I guess football season didn't hold them up. Dylan was at their wins against Woodland, and Kody also saw them against Clarkston. How do the Bearcat girls look?
Very good.
It's very similar to last year with the Julia Dallin centered at the attack.
And then it sounds like Dylan Beck is also kind of moving into a bigger scoring role, maybe?
Yeah, Beck, and then Caitlin Klopek, kind of two of their leading sophomores that got a lot of time as freshmen last year. And, I think that's going to be kind of a big stepping stone for them. Is obviously Dalen's going to, do what she does. She had 29 and 23 yesterday in their win over Ridgefield. Portland commit, Julia Dalen, by the way. I don't know if we've mentioned that on the pod yet, but Dalen's going to do her thing. But obviously outside of that, when you look forward to, this is a team you expect to compete for a district title. This is a team you expect to contend for a trophy in Yakima. It's going to come down to these other pieces. Grace Simpson had, 8 or 10 points the other night. Beck's getting at least 15 a night. Klopek, 6+, and Karnofsky, WF West coach Kyle Karnofsky has applauded her for a lot of the little things, just stuff like that. They get Riley Beebe over from Tumwater. And they've been challenging themselves. I mean, Clarkston was a 2A semifinalist last year, if I remember. They beat Kings, who was a 1A quarterfinalist, I want to say. Crushed Ridgefield yesterday. And they've, like you said, 5 games already. It's been fast and furious for them to start. They don't play again until Friday, which means they're off today, tomorrow, and Thursday, right? Time.
Yeah.
3 days off is the most days off they've gotten between games so far this year. It's just been bam, 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 and it's been win so far for them.
Also, congrats, Kyle Karnofsky. Didn't he pick up win number 100?
Did. I believe that was the Kings win on Friday, I believe.
Pretty cool. I feel old. Anyway.
And Julia Dalen set the school record for points in their first win.
Took her long enough.
I can't remember if we mentioned that last time.
The defending state champion Napavine Tigers are also off to a 2-1 start. They have blowout wins over Raymond, South Bend, and Tumwater. They blew out Tumwater. Good for them. But they also lost to Kings, doesn't Kings have like a D1 player?
Yeah, I don't think she's committed yet.
But she's getting serious
name.
D1
Kaloa Anderson, I believe.
Okay.
And you could tell watching that that's the best player on the court at all times. No disrespect to any of the Tigers. They got some good players there, but yeah.
Okay.
Shane Schutt's talking to him preseason. Unfortunately, the only time I've seen them in person so far is the loss. Obviously, they took care of business against RSP and Tumwater, but, similar to the football team against Napavine, that was a game that was kind of close at halftime, and then Kings just pull away. And, that Schutt's just kind of saying, we're going to have some growing pains. He said that before the season, and he said this is just one of those days. You lose as much talent as you did from last season, and you have some younger players in the post who are still – trying to become more consistent and getting experience at the varsity level. Sometimes when you play a great player and a great team like that, things will just happen like that.
All right. Onalaska is off to, and Hayden Cow, didn't she crack 1,000?
She did.
Yeah.
That's right. Mm-hmm. She scored 25 against
25 or 29? I thought she had 29.
I think it was 29. I think she had 25 yesterday.
Okay.
So she's well over 1,000 now. So.
And then Onalaska's 2-0. Dylan and Kody saw them defeat Hoquiam on Monday.
It's an odd game.
Yeah, Hoquiam didn't really seem like they were interested in winning that basketball game towards the end.
All right.
It just wasn't on their bingo card for the night.
I was talking about it with the Onalaska coach, Alana Olsen, too, after. Like, it was almost like the opposite. So Ani's, like, clinging to, like, a pretty consistent, lead of, like, 3-6, right? Like, big enough to where it's not one score, but not big enough to where you could be comfortable.
Seemed like Hoquiam perhaps thought they were playing 5 quarters.
Yeah. Yeah, Hoquiam's running. There's less than a minute left. Hoquiam's running like a full set, like set up and burn the entire 30 seconds of the shot clock, half court offense. And then Onalaska gets the ball back, and they're just sprinting down court trying to. If you had told me it was flipped, that Ani was the team that needed the points, I would have believed you, just in the difference in styles. It didn't end up mattering, obviously, in the final score, but it was just kind of funny to watch over the last minute about how. Yeah. And that's the funny thing, too, is that, like, Delaney and Renzi Marshall are there now. They have another freshman starting. That's the style they're trying to play, so that's what they're trying to build to, and they weren't able to get to that super consistently as all these new pieces just kind of try to gel together. So the last, minute and a half, 2 minutes is kind of what Olsen wants them to get to consistently. And so it was a little bit like, okay, I'm glad that they're getting to that point, but also, like, we got to burn some clock. It was just a funny dynamic to watch play out in real time. Meanwhile, Hoquiam is letting the shot clock run out down 6 with 45 seconds left. It was just a little odd, but Emily Jacoby was the big story there. She had 28, I believe, after putting up 32 in their first win. She's a stud.
Very good.
She led the way offensively. When they need something, they'll go to her. And I think the hope is, as the season goes on, the offense around her will become more consistent, and that will allow, things to kind of come together and the scores start getting a little higher.
All right, cool. And then add Morton White Pass, Oakville, PL, Mossy Ark are all off to 2-0 starts. Black Hills is 3-0. Any quick hits from those teams? Adna being undefeated doesn't really seem like a surprise.
Not a shocker. I know Mossy Rock lost the Marshall sisters.
New coach. Don't they have a new coach?
New coach
too?
as
Nick
well.
Rashoff coaching.
Nick Rashoff. So, yeah, Kendall Cornier.
I have no idea.
I believe it's Cornier.
Cornier, yeah.
Yeah. She's had a good start to the season. Chesney Schultz down low. They'll still be pretty solid. I don't know much about MWP Oakville and PL yet, though.
All right. This podcast brought to you by Elam's Home Furnishings and Mattress Gallery. Kody, you know what I think you need? You need a sick bed gear mattress to set up next to your Blackstone grill. just
in my room.
Just grilling and napping all at once, man. That's the life.
My alarm goes off. Time to flip the burgers.
Yeah.
Straight from bed.
Your alarm is the sizzle of the steak.
Yeah,
next to
like
your face.
sizzle gets a little loud.
That chicken's ready.
Oh, it's ready to flip.
Yeah. Sleep is personal. Find your fit with a bed gear bed. They use innovative technologies to create mattresses and bedding that fits your sleep temperature, body type, and sleep position. If your sleep temperature is as hot as the grill and your sleep position is one arm tilted up, maybe do some flipping.
Sports Dumb not brought to you by Blackstone Grills yet.
But someday.
Unless you're,
a crossover from News Dump. Anyway, you can purchase your bed gear.
Blackstone Grills brought to you by Shayla's Outfitters.
your bed gear personal mattress at Elam's Home Furnishings and Sleep Center. Visit their showroom at 1530 South Gold Street in Centralia or check out elamshf.com. On to boys basketball. Rainier is off to a nice 3-0 start, including a dominant win over Mossy Rock last Friday. They were up 44-1 at halftime and went on to win 64-14. That's
a score.
That's a lot. I would not have predicted that.
Yeah, Rube was actually at that game, and I asked him if he could just grab Tom Kelly afterwards as well, and he's like, yeah, I don't know if he'll have much to say. They're down like 30-1 at this point. And I was like, oh, okay.
To Tom's credit, I did like his quote. He's given me that same quote before about, sometimes you get your ass kicked.
Oh, yeah.
And he's good about pointing out, like, hey, we bet on the winning end of these, and, this will make us better. He said that to me after, I think, when he was coaching the WFS girls, and they won a game really big or something. Maybe they like beat Centralia really bad. And he's like, I've been on both ends of these. Sometimes you're on the other end, and that's rough too. But you gotta take it. And then I was like, God, I wonder if he did say that because he had coached at Centralia a few years before. Tom's coached a lot of places.
Yeah.
And so I pulled up the Centralia game that had also lost really bad. And sure enough, his quote after that one was like, hey, sometimes you're on the wrong end of these things, but it makes you better. So, Tom is nothing if not consistent. Props to him for talking to Rube. And, I'm sure Rube didn't feel great about going up to Tom Kelly, who he's never met, after they're down 43 at halftime, and being like, Tom, what do you feel went wrong in this one?
He helped us with Yakima, so at least he had met him before and talked to him a little bit. But
Tom's a good sport on stuff like that.
Matt Beatty wrote, I think it was after they won state at WF West.
Yeah.
I think it was Matt Beatty who wrote an article that the lead was something along the lines of like, it's not often Tom Kelly doesn't have much to say, but he was speechless after the Bearcats won the blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But anyways, Rainier, 1 point allowed at half, 14 on the day. The defense was stellar. Defense played awesome again yesterday in a win against Montesano, I think. 51-31, 51-37. I don't know. There's a lot of numbers, a lot of basketball numbers. But they allowed less than 40. The Meldrums, I think it was Montesano, because Justin Damasevich, I apologize if I mispronounce your name. He is with the Scrimmage podcast.
Yeah.
And he was tweeting out scoring updates, and at one point he just goes, Rainier has 3 Meldrums, and all of them are very good.
Yeah.
And I was like, yep.
What are like Jim, John, Josh?
Jimmy, Jake, and Josh, yeah. I think Jacob.
Jacob short for Jacobithan.
I think is his full name Jimmy? I don't know. But yeah, they all put up double figures in the win yesterday. I think that's kind of been my most the team that's caught my attention early in terms of I might not have expected that.
All right. The only other 2 C2BL teams that have played more than 2 games are Morton White Pass, which is 2-1, and Winlock, which is 1-3. Do we have any early predictions for how the C2BL will shake out? Who's good?
Adna, Rainier.
Yeah, we'll see.
I still think Napavine will be pretty good. I'm curious how Tootle will look. I'm going to see them tonight against Adna. I don't remember who their new coach is off the top of my head, but they are also under a new coach, and they also lost their senior all-time leading scorer, like Napavine last year. I think Mossy Rock will be okay. I think they'll bounce back. They'll take care of teams.
Well, yeah,
the bottom half.
I should hope they bounce back and they'll go out and be down to 45-1 at halftime next week. I'm sure they will get better.
Yeah, and then Morton White Pass, in terms of kind of that next tier, Judah Kelly's good enough to win some C2BL games by himself. When you got a guy
he sounds like a dandy.
30 to 40 every night, that's going to be good enough some days.
All right. In the EVCO, Black Hills is 2-2, Centralia is 0-2. Tillwater WF West are going to start games this week. What was Zach's prediction? The preview was Tillwater, WF West, and Black Hills are all going to be good, which isn't really having a take. Do you have a take?
WF West will probably be the best out of the nice rhyme, not intentional.
Okay.
My guess is they will, get a league title and get back to districts. I think that's a team that can get to Yakima. I don't think that's super far-fetched. I mean, they almost made it last year.
Yeah.
I think they came up a game short, if I remember correctly, losing in the opening round, which I had to remind myself how that worked.
Writing
up the previews. But it's kind of cool. Just got to get used to it again. I would expect Chehalis to be the best of the bunch. I'm going to their home opener tomorrow. I don't remember who they're playing, but they're at home tomorrow.
Okay. And then the Oakville boys are 2-0. PL is 2-1, and this is a good spot for Dylan to explain the shuffling that happened in the 1B leagues. What's going on?
Yeah, so Mossy and Wakaikam essentially swapped spots because Mossy moved up to the C2BL while Wakaikam moved down. Wakaikam slid into the Columbia Valley. Oakville moved from the Coastal to the Columbia Valley, so PL and Oakville are now in the same league, while Nacelle and Willapa Valley moved from the CVL to the Coastal. So it's 2 7-team leagues. It makes sense to me now. I'm hoping it's just as clear come baseball and softball, and people might actually know where district tournament trophies are and what league names are. But
Don't hold your breath.
but yeah, that's pretty much it. I think I hit all the bases there. Some travel times are funky, but I think that's just part of, the 1B experience. You got Oakville and PL having to go to Wakaicum and the Washington School for the Deaf, and Three Rivers Christian is down there somewhere, I think.
Yeah,
some road trips.
Like Longview-ish,
Yeah.
maybe south. I can't remember.
So there's some road trips mixed in there, but from it's two leagues of 7, and we'll see how it shapes up come districts in terms of who gets how many spots. But
all right, this podcast brought to you by Americool Heating and Air Conditioning. Your comfort is their business, providing full-service HVAC installation services and repair with a 100% satisfaction guarantee on everything they do. Visit west.americoolonline.com to learn more or check them out. Or give them a call, 360-669-8378. That's their 24/7 emergency service line if you're either too hot or too cold. Quick congratulations. You know what? We're going to spoil Zach's news.
he tweeted
Zach,
it. I think it's public, yeah.
Zach and his partner, Skylar, welcomed a beautiful baby boy into the world this past weekend. Congratulations. And another note, all area soccer, volleyball, and football teams will be out soon. Next couple weeks. Those are in process now.
Been pressuring Zach to get the boy on the pod as soon as possible.
Yeah, bring him.
I believe he's a day old now.
We need his Bears takes.
Yeah.
We need fresh blood in the Bears organization.
Is Zach a Bears fan?
He is.
Why?
The whole way to
He's from
Richland
Iowa. They can kind of pick whatever down there.
The whole way to Richland and back, we listened to Bears podcasts. I got
Coach Johns, is that one?
Yeah, I got way too invested. I was way too interested.
Kody, we have to listen to a Bears podcast. Kody at the end. Jalen Johnson is one of the best cornerbacks in the league.
All right. Anything else you guys want to add?
Right.
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Thanks for listening.
Dan Lanning for next Bears head coach.